Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec and I'm back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we're going to be covering this pre-security learning path. We're continuing on with the network fundamentals and we're taking a look at this room called Extending Your Network. Learn about some of the technologies used to extend networks out onto the internet and motivations for this. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. Task number 1, Introduction to Port Forwarding. Port forwarding is an essential component in connecting applications and services to the internet. Without port forwarding, applications and services such as web servers are only available to devices within the same direct network. Take the network below as an example. Within this network, the server with an IP address of 192.168.1.10 runs a web server on port 80. Only the two other computers on this network will be able to access it. This is known as an intranet. And there's the fancy little image here for that, network number 1. So you got the router, and it looks like a server here, and a couple endpoints here. If the administrator wanted the website to be accessible to the public using the internet, they would have to implement port forwarding, like in the diagram below, right? And let's take a look at this diagram real quick. All right, you got the internet here, and you have the internal network here, the intranet, right? And then you got everything else on the outside here. So they have to set up port forwarding in order to communicate with each other. And let's continue here. With this design, network number 2 will now be able to access the web server running on network number 1 using the public IP address of network number 1, which is the IP address listed there. Remember, that's going to be the NAT address for that, right? It is easy to confuse port forwarding with the behaviors of a firewall, a technology we'll come across to discuss in a later task. However, at this stage, just understand that port forwarding opens specific ports. Recall how packets work. In comparison, firewalls determine if traffic can travel across these ports, even if these ports are opened by port forwarding. Port forwarding is configured at the router of a network. What is the name of the device that is used to configure port forwarding? Well, as we just discovered there, it's going to be the router, right? So there we go. Now let's continue on to task number 2. We're going to get into some firewall stuff here. Task number 2 says Firewalls 101. A firewall is a device within a network responsible for determining what traffic is allowed to enter and exit. Think of a firewall as border security for a network. An administrator can configure a firewall to permit or deny traffic from entering or exiting a network based on numerous factors such as where the traffic is coming from, where is the traffic going to, what port is the traffic for, what protocol is the traffic using. Firewalls perform packet inspection to determine the answers to these questions. Firewalls come in all shapes and sizes, from dedicated pieces of hardware, often found in large networks like businesses, that can handle a magnitude of data, to residential routers like at your home, or software such as Snort. Firewalls can be categorized into 2 to 5 categories. We'll cover the 2 primary categories of firewalls in the table below here. All right, the first one's going to be talking about stateful. And let's look at the description here. It says this type of firewall uses the entire information from a connection rather than inspecting an individual packet. This firewall determines the behavior of a device based upon the entire connection. This firewall type consumes many resources in comparison to stateless firewalls, as the decision making is dynamic. For example, a firewall could allow the first parts of a TCP packet that would later fail. If a connection from a host is bad, it will block the entire device. Let's check at the stateless ones. This firewall type uses a static set of rules to determine whether or not individual packets are acceptable or not. For example, a device sending a bad packet will not necessarily mean that the entire device is blocked. Whilst these firewalls are much fewer resources or use much fewer resources than alternatives, they are much dumber. For example, these firewalls are only as effective as the rules that are defined in them. If a rule is not exactly matched, it is effectively useless. However, these firewalls are great when receiving large amounts of traffic from a set host, such as distributed denial of service attack. What layers of the OSI model do firewalls operate at? Layer 3 and layer 4, right? If I could spell correctly, layer 4. There we go. Put a space in there. All right. Remember, they were talking about TCP stuff up here, right? So, and they were talking about packets, right? So that's going to be layer 3 and layer 4 of the OSI model. And let's look at this next one here. It's talking about which one inspects the entire connection. Remember, that's going to be the stateful, right? And then individual packets going to be stateless, as discussed above. There we go. Now let's take a look at task number 3 here. Deploy the static site to attached, or the static site attached to this task. You must correctly configure the firewall to prevent the device from overloading to receive the flag. So let's go ahead and try this out here. See what we can do. And it says the website at 203.0.110.1 is under attack. Quickly add some firewall rules to stop the server from crashing. The packets in red are sent from the attacker machine. So let's go ahead and start this sucker up. And let's see here. It's probably going to crash before I even get a chance to mess with it. The source IP is going to be the attacker box, right? So let's do that. And then destination is going to be this. And it's going on port 80, so we're going to add this in here. Ah, it got me. All right, well, let's try this again. Add this rule, and that should fix it. Yep, there we go. I was too slow to put it in there. But should get the flag after this completes here shortly. And a lot of times this may be what you do in the real world when it comes to attacks such as this, or maybe there's some kind of C2 server out there that's trying to communicate back. You'll put in a block like this in the firewall rule to eliminate that connection. All right, now that's done. Let's continue on to task number 4 here, talking about VPN basics. A virtual private network, or VPN for short, is a technology that allows devices on separate networks to communicate securely by creating a dedicated path between each other over the internet, known as a tunnel. Devices connected within this tunnel form their own private network. For example, only devices within the same network, such as within a business, can directly communicate. However, a VPN allows two offices to be connected. Let's take the diagram below where there are 3 networks. All right, take a look here. It says one is the office number 1, office number 2, and then 2 devices connected via a VPN. Highlighted in blue here is network number 3, the VPN connection, right? You got 2 endpoints here, and they're going through the internet via a encrypted tunnel called a VPN. As you can see here, right? It's going to be flowing over this here. And let's continue on here. The devices connected on network 3 are still part of network 1 and 2, but also form together to create a private network, network number 3, that only devices that are connected to via this VPN can communicate over. Let's cover some of the other benefits offered by a VPN in the table below. Take a look at the benefits. Allows networks and different geographical locations to be connected. Description, for example, a business with multiple offices will find VPNs beneficial, as it means that resources like servers/infrastructure can be accessed from another office. It offers privacy. VPN technology uses encryption to protect data. This means that it can only be understood between the devices it was being sent and is destined for, meaning that the data isn't vulnerable to sniffing. Offers anonymous activity here. It says journalists and activists depend upon VPNs to safely report on global issues in countries where freedom of speech is controlled. Usually, your traffic can be viewed by your ISP and other intermediaries and therefore tracked. TryHackMe uses a VPN to connect to our vulnerable machines without making them directly accessible to the internet. That means that you can securely interact with our machine. Service providers such as ISPs don't think you're attacking another machine on the internet. The VPN provides security to TryHackMe as vulnerable machines are not accessible using the internet. VPN technology has improved over the years. Let's explore some of the VPN technologies below. Let's talk about PPP. This technology is used by PPTP, explained below, to allow for authentication and provide encryption of data. VPNs work by using a private key and public certificate similar to SSH. A private key and certificate must match for you to connect. PPTP, the point-to-point tunneling protocol, PPTP, is the technology that allows the data from PPP to transfer and leave a network. IPsec, Internet Protocol Security, IPsec, encrypts data using the existing Internet Protocol framework. All right, let's answer some questions here. What VPN technology only encrypts and provides the authentication data? All right, so that's going to be, let's see here, that's going to be PPP. So let's go ahead and type this in here. There you go. And let's see here. What VPN technology uses the IP framework? As we saw, it's going to be this IPsec here. So there we go, IPsec. Here we go. Now let's continue on to task number 5. And we're going to be talking about LAN networking devices. What is a router? It's a router's job to connect networks and pass data between them. It does this by using routing, hence the name router. Routing is the label given to the process of data traveling across networks. Routing involves creating a path between networks so that this data can be successfully delivered. Routers operate at layer 3 of the OSI model. They often feature an interactive interface such as a website or a console that allows an administrator to configure various rules such as port forwarding or firewalling. Routing is useful when devices are connected by many paths, such as the example diagram below, where the most optimal path is taken. And there's the example here. You got endpoints to endpoints there, and you got the routing stuff in between. Routers are dedicated devices and do not perform the same functions as switches. We can see computer A's network is connected to the network of computer B by 2 routers in the middle. The question is, what path will be taken? Different protocols will decide what path should be taken, but factors include what path is the shortest, what path is the most reliable, which path has the fastest medium, e.g. copper or fiber. What is a switch? A switch is a dedicated networking device responsible for providing a means of connecting to multiple devices. Switches can facilitate many devices from 3 to 63 using Ethernet cables. Switches can operate at both layer 2 and layer 3 of the OSI model. However, these are exclusive in the sense that layer 2 switches can operate at layer 3. Take, for example, a layer 2 switch in the diagram below. These switches will forward frames. Remember, these are no longer packets as the IP protocol has been stripped onto the connecting or connected devices using the MAC address. And here's an example here. You got the router, go into this layer 2 switch, go into these other endpoints here on the network. These switches are solely responsible for sending frames to the correct device. Now let's move on to layer 3 switches. These switches are more sophisticated than layer 2 as they can perform some of the responsibilities of a router. Namely, these switches will send frames to devices as layer 2 does and route packets to other devices using the IP protocol. Let's take a look at the diagram below of layer 3 switch in action. We can see that there are 2 IP addresses, 1.1 and 2.1. A technology called a VLAN, Virtual Local Area Network, allows specific devices within a network to be virtually split up. This means they can all benefit from things such as an internet connection but are treated separately. This network separates, or the separation provides security because it means that rules in place determine how specific devices communicate with each other. This segregation is illustrated in the diagram below here. You got the router, you got that layer 3 switch here, right? And it's communicating to the endpoints on different VLANs, right? Split up by VLANs. In the context of the diagram below, the sales department and accounting department will be able to access the internet but not able to communicate with each other, although they are connected to the same switch. And it says here, what is the verb for the action that a router does? And it's route stuff, so let's try this, routing. There you go. What are the 2 different layers of switches? Comma, okay. It wants to do it this way. So layer 3 and, or sorry, layer 2 and layer 3. So there we go. Awesome. Now let's continue on to task number 6 here and close this out. Deploy the static site to this task and experiment with the network simulator. The simulator will break down every step a packet needs to take to get from point A to B. Try sending a TCP packet from computer 1 to computer 3 to reveal a flag. Please use Chrome or Firefox to complete this exercise. Oh, you can't use Edge or Internet Explorer? Darn it. Anyway, let's get on with this here and let's take a look at this simulation part. All right, so point A to point B, right? So we need to get over to, let's change this first. Let's change it to, I guess, computer 3 here. Send packet. All right. And you can see the network log stuff here. All right. So that's pretty cool. Like it says, it guides you through everything that it's doing here, right? Just check out the network logs. Talks about three-way handshakes, stuff like that. All right. Okay, now let's try, I guess, computer number 2. Let's go ahead and do this. I don't know if you're supposed to type something in here. I guess not. All right. Got the flag here. So go ahead and give this a shot if you're interested in playing around with this simulator here. Now, Cisco used to have something called Packet Tracer. I'm not sure if it still exists or not. I haven't used it in several years, but you might want to check that out. Maybe it's something you can use. And I'm sure there's other free simulators out there that you can play around with. How many handshake entries are there in the network log? Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a look here, guys. And let's see here, handshake entries. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. There we go. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much it. The next video, we're going to be taking a look at DNS in detail, apparently. But if you have any questions, be sure to hit that comment section below. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button with the notification bell so you know every time I post. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the content, enjoying the information. Helps get the information out there, helps improve our glorious community here, helps spread the word, etc., etc. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good day. I'll see you later.